Hey guys, welcome to the Liberal Hive Mind, a channel solely focused on exposing the abundant hypocrisy of the left. You know what's the entire point of Donald Trump as a political entity? It's to put an end to the current status quo. People are sick of the current status quo. I mean, it's obvious to most people, and especially hardworking middle-class people, that the current status quo is working for one group of people and leaving pretty much everyone else out to dry or in the dust. And the whole point of voting for Trump in that 2016 election was to say enough is enough. Can't just keep doing the same thing over and over again, expecting different results, expecting things are going to get better. They're getting worse and people feel it, especially after an inflation crisis. But anyways, point being, that's why people love Donald Trump, because he challenges the status quo and he only cares about one thing and one thing alone: American exceptionalism. That is the Trump brand. And honestly, this whole conversation relating to tariffs, I think that pretty much seals it, at least for me. There's one person who's fighting for American manufacturing, fighting for American jobs, keeping monies domestically, promoting money circulation within the nation, rather than sending it off to countries that frankly hate us, as we prop up dictators across the globe. And then there's the other side. They're just a bunch of China shills, let's be freaking real. I don't know whether to call them journalists, economists, politicians, or foreign lobbyists. I mean, whose freaking side are you on? That's all I'm going to say for the intro. I got a clip to show you guys. Donald Trump is still on an absolute tear. I mean, he is just firing on all cylinders, folks. Let me show you guys exactly what's going on. Here's a viral clip that's bouncing all over the internet, and then of course, let's have a conversation relating to the actual content of discussion. We got some stuff to get into, so let's roll the tape. All right, folks, so the debate about tariffs. Donald Trump is simply changing the game.
And yes, you're going to find some people who will gain from individual tariffs. The overall effect could be massive in terms of the economy.
I agree it's going to have a massive effect, positive effect. It's going to be a positive, not a negative.
Well,
let me just tell you. I know how committed you are to this, and it must be hard for you to, spend 25 years talking about tariffs as being negative, and then have somebody explain to you that you're totally wrong. It'll have a negative. It will have. I'll go a step further.
40
if
million,
you don't
40
do
million,
this,
President Trump, 40
no
million jobs is a lot of jobs to rely on.
They're all coming back.
Those are 40 million jobs. Those are 40 million jobs in America that rely on trade.
Are you ready? John Deere, great company. They announced about a year ago they're going to build big plants outside of the United States, right? They're going to build them in Mexico.
And you threatened them with tariffs and they stopped.
That's right. I said, if John Deere builds those plants and not selling anything into the United States, they just announced yesterday they're probably not going to build the plants, okay? I kept the jobs here.
Tariffs also have another side. Isn't that something that you have to acknowledge?
No.
You could be plunging America into the biggest trade war since Smoot-Hawley.
But there are no tariffs.
You're going to stop. There are tariffs already at the moment.
There are no tariffs. All you have to do is build your plant in the United States, and you don't have any tariffs.
But people, a lot of places like this.
What does the Wall Street Journal know? I'm meeting with them tomorrow. What does the Wall Street Journal know? They've been wrong about everything. So have you, by the way. You've been wrong about
You're trying to turn this. You've
been wrong about
you're trying to turn this into debate. There are business people.
But you're wrong. You've been wrong. You've been wrong all your life on this stuff.
Why should they trust you with that?
Because we're about growth. She's got no growth whatsoever, and we're all about growth. We're going to bring companies back to our country. You look at even today, as I was driving over, I see these empty, old, beautiful, like steel mills and factories that are empty and falling down. Some have been converted to senior citizens' homes, but that's not going to do the trick. And we're going to bring the companies back. We're going to lower taxes still further for companies that are going to make their product in the USA. We're going to protect those companies with strong tariffs, because I'm a believer in tariffs. I'm not sure that you are. I don't think you are, but I congratulate you on your career. But to me, the most beautiful word in the dictionary is tariff. And it's my favorite word. It needs a public relations firm to help it, but to me, it's the most beautiful word in the
tariffs.
You know, I tend to think that Trump is right. I think there's a lot of fear-mongering. There's a lot of spooky rhetoric. I mean, just look at what the Democrats are saying. Donald Trump wants to impose a 20% tariff tax on everyone. It's going to make you poor and make everything more expensive. Coming from the people who have a very shitty track record on the issue of making stuff more expensive. But anyways, they're dealing in all this fear-mongering nonsense, but I just don't see it the same way. Frankly, I agree with Trump. I think they're all wrong. Tariffs are simply a tool, and if they're used correctly, they work. This idea that tariffs don't work is ridiculous. Frankly, it's ludicrous. Trump gave an example with John Deere. And immediately that pretty much debunks it. But secondly, same people who are panicking and pushing this fear-mongering stuff about putting tariffs on Chinese goods are the same people who left in place Donald Trump's Chinese tariffs. It's so patently absurd. I mean, the whole issue on car manufacturing, I think, pretty much clears it up. Donald Trump actually elaborated with Maria Bartiromo.
What about the criticism, and the Journal has done this as well, that if you do put something like a 200% tariff on a product, that it's only going to mean higher prices for consumers?
It's not. No, it doesn't mean that.
It's got to be passed on somehow.
No, right. All I'm doing is saying, I'll put 200 or 500. I don't care. I'll put a number where they can't sell one car into the United. I don't want them to sell their car, because I don't want them hurting our car companies. We're going to have a lot of companies moving into the United States. When I use 200, I'm using it as a number. I don't want their car. They will not be able to sell cars. I'm not going to let them build a factory right across the border and sell millions of cars into the United States and destroy Detroit further.
You know, what is the point of a tariff? It's to protect American interest. I mean, people don't seem to understand this. They don't seem to understand that, by the way, Biden and Kamala Harris are both essentially in agreement that there should be tariffs on Chinese imports, specifically vehicles, because what's the alternative? The alternative is, as Donald Trump said, a total collapse of American car manufacturing. It already started. I mean, look at what's happened to Detroit since all this offshoring started. Tariffs don't make Americans poorer. They protect American jobs. It keeps money here. By imposing tariffs on foreign goods that compete directly with American-made products, that's an important part, the government can actually protect domestic industries from being undercut by cheaper, often lower-quality imports. Exactly what China's doing. And you know, just like Trump said, the Chinese right now are investing billions of dollars trying to set up manufacturing plants in Mexico. They want to bring in Chinese steel and use cheap labor to flood the American market with their cars. That simply cannot be allowed to happen. The reality is here, there's two choices. There's one political party that just wants to, frankly, sell you out. And there's another political party, well, it's not really the party, it's more so the politician. There's another leader running for office here, his name's Donald Trump, who wants to protect your jobs, who wants to keep industry and investment here and not send it to China, Mexico, India, Vietnam, South Korea, the list goes on. You know, it's once again Donald Trump challenging the status quo. And the other side, frankly, is out here lobbying for foreign interest and big corporate interest that just want to make a buck. They don't care about American workers. These people are globalists. They'll move their company wherever they want to move it. They'll move manufacturing anywhere. They just want to sell cheap goods to you. They just want to have the cheapest input costs so they can make the biggest margins. And this absolute nonsense, this ridiculous talking point, well, all of these economists say that your policies will increase inflation and make goods more expensive. Honestly, what a stupid thing to say. No. If that was the case, we would have saw it during Trump's first 4 years in office. But guess what? We didn't. Actually, what we saw was steadily under the target inflation. Inflation was below 2% before Joe Biden took office. You know what causes inflation? Printing money that you don't have, so you could pay for all of these social programs that the country can't actually afford because people are doing so poorly economically because all their jobs got shipped overseas. Oh, but economists say. Who cares what economists say? Economists are wrong 90% of the time. I'd argue more than half of them are politically motivated. I mean, they're academics in left-wing academic institutions. Some of them are probably literally funded by the Chinese, but we're supposed to take what they say seriously and govern based on their incredible wisdom. No, give me a freaking break. Never. I choose the Trump side each and every single time, and it's not even a question. Or actually, it is a question, or more of a choice. It's a choice between patriotism and selling out the nation to big corporate interest. I don't buy into this nonsense even for a second. We've seen this economic strategy of outsourcing labor. It's been an utter, unmitigated disaster. Just drive around Detroit and you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. I've had enough with it. It's time to bring industry back. It's time to invest in American goods and American jobs. It's time to pay good, real wages. And frankly, it's time for American citizens to frankly find their long-lost patriotism and buy American goods. Oh, but 68% of economists surveyed by Wall Street Journal deem Trump worse on inflation than Harris. Okay, well, I guess 68% of economists have some sort of substance abuse problem because, I mean, what the frick? Look at the last 8 years. These people gotta be on that Hunter Parmesan Because I seem to recall the exact opposite happening in the real world. Not with all their fancy models and predictions that are always wrong, but in the real world, in reality. It's so incredibly stupid. Their models have to be skewed. What they're probably doing is taking all of this insane post-COVID spending that Joe Biden and Kamala Harris have kept up for 4 years, and then they're saying, well, look, if Donald Trump does all these things, we're going to lose all this tax revenue, and then, ooh, look at the deficit. But again, that's not the way the real world works. What's probably going to end up happening is the US government's going to start collecting a lot of money in tariffs. More jobs are going to come back domestically, meaning more money generated, more jobs, more money being spent, more investment, more taxable income that the government's then collecting. And of course, the most important thing, if you cut taxes, you gotta do something else. Cut the size of government. What's the implication here? The spending will just continue to grow? It's gotta stop. It's time to cut the bleeding. The models make no sense. The arguments, frankly, at least to me, make no sense. And what it really feels like is surrender. Complete, utter surrender. Surrender of the nation's interest. And no longer this belief in American exceptionalism, which frankly, I just can't get on board with. I think Trump is right. And the rest of these people, well, they must have some sort of ulterior motive. Anyways, that's pretty much what I got for you guys on this one. Hopefully you enjoyed the video. If you did, make sure to leave a like and possibly subscribe. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.